Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, here with some quick thoughts about the upcoming fight between George Groves and James DeGale. Now, first, let me just say I have a video up analyzing the fight. I'm taking DeGale in that fight. I think DeGale wins it. Now, much has been said about the fact that George Groves has been training with super middleweight contender Andre Dirrell. Apparently, the two guys have been sparring. And of course, James DeGale has been sparring with light heavyweight Nathan Cleverly. Let me just say that, I don't think sparring with Andre Dirrell will help much against James DeGale. Understand that Dirrell is what I call a mover, right? He's a guy who hits and moves. He moves around the ring, right? James DeGale, by contrast, is a stalker. And by that, I mean his entire game is to deconstruct you and then come forward on you. When you're throwing punches at him, you're hitting elbows. He's ducking under punches. He's moving to the side on punches. He's not running. He's just using lateral movement. He's in your area code at all times, and then you're smothered, right? You're hit with a bevy of shots. You don't know whether he's coming at you left-handed or right-handed. Now, Dirrell is a switch like DeGale, right? He can go from right-handed to left-handed and back, but it's completely a different experience. Understand, there are times when you're fighting Andre Dirrell when he's going to take a step back, right, at the precise moment that James DeGale would take a step forward. Also, when Andre Dirrell got inside on Carl Froch and the two guys were tangled up a little bit, Dirrell held Froch. That was his inside game, right? Dirrell at one point actually looked like he took a knee against Froch, went to the canvas. I thought that was just to buy time and avoid being inside with Carl Froch, right? Not that Froch, by the way, knows how to fight inside, but that was the dynamic of their fight. So their fight, of course, had a lot of clinching, a lot of, holding, a lot of wrestling on the inside so that the guys could actually avoid fighting on the inside. Well, understand, James DeGale thrives on the inside, right? If you're sparring with a guy who doesn't have DeGale's inside game, then you're going to be unprepared for a big part of the fight. If you want to train to beat James DeGale, then you really do need to bring in only one guy I can think of, and that's Dmitry Pirog, the middleweight champion, right? Because he's the only guy I know in boxing who can imitate James DeGale for stretches at a time. Understand, we're talking about an elite skill level. We're talking about unique skills where the guy is able to literally come in, have a defensive shell, be right up on you, be relaxed, throw different stances at you, throw punches at different angles, right? I believe that Groves is easier to prepare for than James DeGale, right? It's probably a nightmare for any boxing manager to try to come up with a sparring partner who can imitate James DeGale. Now, that said, let me say that Nathan Cleverly, of course, sparring with him is not adequate preparation, in my opinion, for fighting George Groves. Groves himself is a mover, right? Groves is a guy who, is going to be outside. He's going to be moving around the ring. Nathan Cleverly used to be a mover, but now he sprouts roots on the canvas. People know that I'm a Cleverly skeptic, right? Cleverly gives away his height. Cleverly now is a banger. He's a guy who has been stopping opponents, right? He is up close and personal. He'll even stalk you around the ring. That's a different fight style entirely than George Groves. So it's interesting. I understand that Dirrell's a big name. Cleverly is fighting for the light heavyweight title. In other words, these are big time sparring partners. But understand, you aren't trying to just get big time sparring partners in preparing for a fight. You should be trying to get the style of your upcoming opponent. And I don't see it here for Groves or DeGale, right? Let me just say that Cleverly might actually benefit from fighting with James DeGale for his upcoming fight with Jurgen Brähmer. Let me just say this. Brähmer is an enigma, right? While I believe that Cleverly has holes in his game, right? As I said, he gives away his height. He's right in front of you, doesn't move away enough, is going for the knockout, leaves himself open to counters. While Cleverly has, holes, Brähmer has what I call issues. You've seen this guy before. He's the fighter who has incredible skills when he's right? If the guy trains, if the guy is living the right life, then of course the guy is an absolute assassin in the ring. The skill level is obvious. But of course, just like with Riddick Bowe, still, when he was on his game, I thought Bowe was one of the best heavyweights I had ever seen in my life, right? Just like Riddick Bowe, you don't know which Jurgen Brähmer is going to show up, right? Let me just say, I would never, well, at least right now, I'm not going to bet on a fight involving Jurgen Brähmer because I've been down this road before. Riddick Bowe, young Hector Camacho, who still to this day had the fastest hands I've seen. Um, Johnny Tapia, another guy who I heard a lot of hype about Johnny Tapia. I saw Johnny Tapia fight, and I thought, you've got to be kidding. The guy was so brilliant. Then, of course, Tapia had issues and had problems. My advice to gamblers, by the way, on the Cleverly Brähmer fight is stay away from it at all costs. It's a must-see fight, but just understand Brähmer has been skating through life with great skills. You know the list of guys he's beaten. They include people like Ricky Hatton in the amateurs, right? Dominant amateur. But of course, it's my understanding that there's a warrant out for Brähmer's arrest right now. And it's also my understanding that Brähmer has already served jail time, right? I've looked at Brähmer films, and Brähmer, quite frankly, is hit or miss. Some fights he just looks great. Other fights it looks like he hasn't trained. I don't know if he's going to take this fight seriously. But the one thing I do know is that DeGale can actually imitate Brähmer. Brähmer comes at you with the jab. He can smother you. He's up on your chest. He doesn't have to move too much. James DeGale can do that. I think Cleverly is getting excellent sparring in preparation for his fight by sparring with James DeGale. DeGale is a hybrid. He's a chameleon. He can be up on you, shoot a jab, and roll with punches just like Jurgen Brähmer does. So just to sum up, Andre Dirrell, very good fighter. I don't think he can imitate James DeGale in sparring. Nathan Cleverly, up and coming, unbeaten fighter. I don't think he can duplicate George Groves in sparring. Groves against DeGale. I like DeGale in the fight, but I'll say this. I'm certainly looking forward to it because I think it's going to be an absolute barn burner. Let me also point out, too, that these two guys have sparred with each other. They fought each other in the amateurs. They know each other. So the camps are kind of interesting. Maybe they can, make adjustments off of prior knowledge of the other. But just understand, the amateurs are not the pros. Stalkers have it tougher in the amateurs than movers, right? Because you only have 3 rounds in the amateurs in which to inflict damage. So I'm not surprised that even an excellent pro like David Haye you know, had some losses in the amateurs because, of course, a banger like that isn't going to have the kind of high volume, right? He's feinting. He's trying to set up knockout punches. He's not going to have the kind of high volume to win on the judges' scorecards in a three-round fight as much as someone who throws a higher volume who then can look pretty from the outside. So I'm discounting heavily the James DeGale loss to George Groves in the amateurs. I think in the pros, you're going to have a different style of fighting, and you're going to have much more time for DeGale to literally stalk George Groves. Also, just looking at the KO ratio of both guys, let me just say, I'll be very surprised if this fight goes the distance, given the familiarity and given the bad blood between the two guys, coupled with their very high KO ratios for both of them. I believe that DeGale has 8 KOs in 10 fights. I believe George Groves has 10 KOs in 12 fights. Anyway, that's my quick thought. Apparently, it's taken 11 minutes. Let me know what you think. Give me your own quick thought. If you want to do a quick thought video and forward it to me so I can put it on my page, or at least consider putting it on my page, just send me the video with the words quick thought as the first two words, colon, and then your quick thought. And I'll consider putting it on my YouTube channel page, which right now has over 400,000 views. Thanks for watching.